Yo, what is going on, everyone? I am back with another review video. It is going to be on my Pulsar V2 Mini review. And I do want to say right off the bat, I love this mouse. This is easily my favorite wireless ergonomic shape, although it is not my favorite ergonomic shape. And I will explain why, and I feel like it's pretty obvious which mouse I like more than this. Things that I can just skim and get right off the bat, things like mouse feet. I think these mice feet are incredible. They're so good and they're very, very consistent on every surface I've used. Even though I'm using a Serapad, which is honestly a really speedy pad, even for someone like myself, I do feel like these feet give it a really nice controlled stop. You can see that it comes to a really nice stop. Although the glide is very far because this pad is fast, I think the reason it glides so well is because the weight is incredible. But in terms of just the feet alone, they've been consistent on every pad I've used. They feel very controlled, very smooth, and like I said, very consistent. So I have a lot of confidence with this mouse in terms of like coming to stops. Even with gliding, I feel a lot of confidence with that, but it does just depend on the game that I'm playing. Another thing that is honestly very redundant to talk about at this point is going to be the sensor. I think the sensor implementation is absolutely perfect. I have had no DPI deviation. I've had no spinouts, no issues with tracking, no motion delay. It is a perfect sensor through and through. Really, really impressive implementation with a 3370. Something I do feel like has improved just a little bit is their scroll wheel, actually. Their scroll wheel from their V1, from what I can remember, was very, very dull, and it was just a little bit short. And I don't have an issue with it being too short as long as I can reach it. But the extra height on this scroll wheel makes it a lot easier to grab and a lot easier to utilize in game, which is really nice. Another thing that I do have a very quick comparison to this scroll wheel is it reminds me a little bit of the M42 wired scroll wheel, where it's soft but tactile. Except for this scroll wheel, it's much more related to the Starlight 12, in my opinion. I feel like it is very loose and very dull, and the steps I can barely feel. But unlike the Starlight 12, I can come to a complete stop and not have to worry about extra inputs, because with my Starlight 12 I tried to almost never use my scroll wheel, because if I scroll down it gets like stuck in between the steps because it's so loose, and if I just touch my scroll wheel weird, it'll either input where I go down or up, and it's just very annoying. So I've come to learn to just not use my scroll wheel on my Starlight 12, and I feel like that's the closest thing to this mouse as you could get. When you flick down, it'll stop completely. You don't have to worry about what I just said with the Starlight 12, but I do feel like that is probably the closest comparison to the scroll wheel as I could possibly put it. Another thing that should be improved is definitely these side buttons. They are very, very bad. The placement is perfect. I like the shape. Even how flat it is, I don't really mind. But it's the clicks. They're so dull and lifeless. It reminds me something of a Fanatic Bolt, except it's not as difficult to press in. I could spam it if I really wanted to, but I could just not imagine using this kind of side buttons for something like Fortnite. Honestly, for any game where you're using your side buttons quite a bit, I just would honestly say try to not do that with this mouse, because this mouse is really good. It's just if you plan on using side buttons very often, they're very important to how you play. I would kind of suggest something else. Onto the clicks. I feel like the clicks have improved just a tad a bit from the V1, but honestly not that much. I do feel like they're louder. They're definitely like a higher pitch, which is kind of weird. I don't really know why I noticed that. But the clicks, it just doesn't feel as nice unless you go all the way to the top, or if you click right over here. I feel like this is probably the best feeling the click has ever been, when I'm clicking all the way over here on the left click. And I just kind of gradually gravitated towards that area because of how aggressive I claw. And it's just really weird that they still haven't improved their clicks all that much, because I feel like everything from the V1 for the V2 has improved dramatically. It's just weird that the clicks is still something they have yet to completely nail. I just feel like the shell being open over here just makes it feel a lot duller, because if I compare it to something like the Vaxi Outset, for example, where the buttons are clearly separated from the top shell, I just feel like that gives it such a much more tactile and like just a better experience overall for some reason. And I genuinely don't know why, but I do think just having like a button, like a clear cutoff to where the buttons are compared to the shell, has always given me a more tactile experience rather than this whole one shell design. However, the shape is the most important thing, and I do think that they really did nail this shape. Even for someone with small hands and who claws aggressively, I feel like this mouse has been a very, very good performer and has probably surprised me the most out of the mice that I've tried this year. And the reason I say that, for the biggest reason, is because I am not a fan of super aggressive ergonomic shapes, and there is a reason why. It's not that it's unappealing, not aesthetic to the human eye. It's because of how different your left and right swipes feel. The reason I like symmetrical mice like an M42, for example, is because my left and right always feel the same. And what I mean by that is the feeling in hand is symmetrical, so it always feels the same, except an ergonomic shape where it's going to feel like my right side is a bit heavier compared to my left. While I do have an issue with very aggressive ergonomic mice in terms of pure performance, the comfortability of this mouse is insane. The only thing I would change about the shape, I don't know if you've noticed it from when I grip the mouse, but you can see all the way up here, my fingers are actually hitting the lines, which is weird. Out of all the mice, I didn't think that my hands would be too relaxed, because I do think that I'm still very aggressively clawing this mouse and I'm still hitting these lines. So I do find it weird that they're going to have these ridges on the sides, even though all over here is solid. I do feel like maybe they should have implemented some grips to maybe just cover up these two parts if people don't want to feel it at all or even see it. I do feel like you should have just filled this part out. I don't really understand the point of having this maybe extra 3 to 5 grams on the mouse. Maybe it's more, maybe it's less, I'm not too sure. But it is impressive with the weight that they were able to get this down to, 55 grams. That is absolutely insane for a wireless mouse. Even though it is considered a mini mouse, I don't care. It is ridiculously light. Comparing it to the brick that is the M42 weighing at 70 grams, I do feel like this nice 55, really good build quality ergonomic mouse is incredible. However, if I do get over that very small thing, which I did, I don't feel like I should deduct points for something that is grip specific, because that only affects me. It might not affect somebody else, so I don't really deduct points for that. It's just something that I want to mention in my review because it is the mouse that I received, and this is basically just my experience with the mouse. But the grip that I use makes it very comfortable and very easy to aim consistently with. I use my ring and pinky finger for extra control, which is why I don't know if you can see it, but I kind of extend my fingers down there so I grip into the pad. Even on something like a Serapad, I'm very easily able to stop because I'm using the bottom of these 3 fingers here. The grooves are also placed perfectly. My thumb completely sinks in comfortably into the side and gives me the same type of grip I'm able to get with a G303, for example. Because you can see the ridge right here, it's impossible for me to go past that. Even if I were to more aggressively claw, I could not get past that ridge. Really aggressive side curvature is actually what I look for in mice, mainly because I want my grip to be very consistent and not have to make me even think about it. It just makes me mentally a lot easier on my mind so that I can aim a lot more consistently. I don't want to have to think about how I'm holding my mouse, or if it'll slip out, or if my grip will become like more loose. And while I do love high humps, the right curvature is actually so perfect that I'm actually able to force the mouse into my palm a lot more and create a lot more palm contact, which is why I think I can comfortably claw grip this mouse so well, even though the back is incredibly flat. I really only reach from here to here. But yeah, that pretty much is all for my review. If I missed anything at all, please let me know in the comments below. Like I said, I had a great time using this mouse, although it was still not my main ergonomic shape. That is still going to be the king, the pimp daddy, the Vaxi NP01-S. That ergonomic shape is just ridiculous. It's just so good. And I do want to offer a little bit of competition for other companies. I would love to see another company beat this mouse in terms of comfortability and performance, because this mouse is really incredible. But yeah, I hope you guys have a wonderful week, and I hope to see you in the next upload. Peace.
Are you fucking? There's no way. Did my feet?
Actually, to the right. Or,
Nice.
nice.
Boston. That's good.
Well, that mirror is so trash. Why is she sitting there?
You saw feet.